5 most brutal tiger attack stories of the year. Just as Mr. Saini was driving the motorcycle on the way home, a flash of black and orange struck him across the face. Before he could even open his eyes, the floor was already a pool of blood. Tigers average around 1,800 kills per year, most of which occur in India, Nepal, and Southeast Asia. They attack their victims with a mix of calculated stealth and savage claws, so you definitely don't want to be on the bad side of these huge felines, unlike the people we'll talk about next. Tiger disfigures fisherman. Hashmat Ali was sleeping in a boat until a tiger found him and sneaked around his room, looking for food. Hashmat was 40 years old and was working as a fisherman in the jungles of Bangladesh in 1995. Looking for honey until he went to sleep for the night in the boat. As he slept, the tiger swam up to him, crept onto the boat, and slashed with a huge paw, savaging the young man so much that he ripped half his face off. The only thing stopping the tiger from killing him was Hashmat Ali's friend dragging the tiger off. Unfortunately, the tiger attack left Hashmat disfigured for the rest of his life. After the attack, Hashmat was shunned by local villagers as he couldn't afford the very expensive surgery he needed to reconstruct his face. Doctors had tried skin grafts to help him out to no avail. He spent almost 22 years practically living behind a mask and in seclusion, confined to his own village for fear of judgment from outsiders. However, Hashmat still married and had 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. He had to undergo surgery to repair as much of his face as possible at Dhaka Medical Hospital in Bangladesh, helping him reintegrate into society. Tiger assaults farmer returning home. Next up, we have an attack that took place at the Ranthambore National Park, one of India's biggest tiger reserves. More specifically, it took around 3 kilometers away from its boundary wall, and its perpetrator was a big cat. These were reports in 2020 of around 12 people attacked by tigers in Sawai Madhpur district. Between 2018 and 2020, at least 7 people have been killed in these attacks since 2018. On top of that, young tigers aged 2 or 3 were more aggressive as they could not establish territory. A 50-year-old Indian farmer, Ram Kalyan Saini, was returning from work one April evening in Rajasthan. Suddenly, he and 2 other passengers were knocked off their motorcycle, causing him to black out. Once he woke up, he was lying in a pool of blood in excruciating pain, with only his fellow passengers' terrifying sounds surrounding him. One of them said, "Look at that yellow-black thing. It had been a tiger who was lurking around with her cubs." The tiger tore off Mr. Saini's left arm and savaged his face with her claws. The other passengers only suffered minor injuries. Mr. Saini recalls that the experience scarred him for a long time. He thought he was dead and that the cat was waiting to devour him all of a sudden. Surprisingly, this was the second time a tiger had attacked Mr. Saini. The first attack happened 3 years earlier, about 3 kilometers away from the boundary wall of the Ranthambore National Park. A tiger attack mutilates Jamuna Devi. While they were either disfigured or left with grievous wounds, at least these men survived their encounters with the tigers. The same cannot be said for Jamuna Devi, a 45-year-old woman from Kundera village, who went into the field to relieve herself. Toilets are scarce in rural India, so this is a common practice for those who live in the fields. It was an early winter morning in February 2019. A tiger was lurking around the patches that Jamuna chose for relieving herself, and it jumped suddenly at her, dragging her 6 meters away and mauling her. Jamuna attempted to escape and managed to hold the tiger off, but her wounds were already grievous, and the cat quickly caught up to her again. It's believed the tiger thought Jamuna was cattle for a moment. Once more, the tiger pounced Jamuna and mutilated her. Her son, Rajesh Kumar Yogi, found her body. It was as terrifying as you can imagine. It was torn into several pieces and even headless. There was blood everywhere on the fields. Her son couldn't even recognize her. Supposedly because of the excess tiger population, these animals are straying into the villages, and they no longer fear humans like they used to. The park has a population limit of 50 tigers, a limit that had long passed almost a decade ago, leading to the uprise in tiger-human conflicts and territorial fights between the felines. Man-eater of Champaran kills 9 people. However, these tigers usually don't end up killing or savaging more than one person. There's one case of a tiger killing over 9 people in India back in 2022. Known as the Man-eater of Champaran, the tiger spent more terrorizing communities surrounding the Valmiki Tiger Reserve, which is home to more than 70% of the world's wild tigers. Kumar Gupta, the chief wildlife warden for the region, had told the Times of India that the tiger was classified as dangerous to human lives due to his indiscriminate killing spree. This led the Bihar police to go on a mission to hunt the beast before it killed any other unfortunate victims. The decision to find what they named T-104 began after news emerged that the tiger killed a mother and her child. Supposedly, the tiger was lurking around the mother's house in a village. Other villagers kept banging stones against each other and beating tin containers to shoo them away, but it was to no avail. The tiger got inside the mother's house and killed her and her child. Attempts to tranquilize T-104 were unsuccessful, and he was completely fearless when surrounded by teams. The police managed to shoot down the tiger after a long hunt by around 200 police officers and district officials, some even patrolling on elephants just to find the tiger. The man-eater of Champaran is only a cub when compared to one of its predecessors. Tiger of Champawat kills 400 people. The most grievous case of tiger killing sprees in history, however, was that of the tiger of Champawat. The story took place between 1900 and 1907, when one tiger terrorized villagers in both Nepal and India. Most of her victims were young women and their children, who often went into the forest to gather resources for craft works, collecting firewood, and feeding livestock. One of her goriest deaths was that of a mother of two, who she followed for a day while gathering materials. The tiger launched itself at the mother, pinned her to the ground, and tore its head off with savage claws. Things got so bad that the Nepalese military was called in to hunt the tiger, as its attacks quickly numbered into the hundreds. Life across the region had been paralyzed, and people were afraid to leave their huts after hearing the tiger's roars from the forest. The hunt was unsuccessful, but it managed to drive the tiger up into India's Kumaon state. Unfortunately, even there, it kept terrorizing human settlements. The Indian government had to organize several hunting teams and expeditions to find the tiger and put it down. The tiger adjusted her hunting strategy to best hunt and evade humans. It did things as impressive as traveling between villages, as much as 20 miles in a day, at night, to claim new victims and evade pursuers. What's more, all of its kills happened in daylight. The tiger also took the life of a 16-year-old girl, Premka Devi, in the village of Fungar, leaving a trail of blood. British hunter Jim Corbett had been contacted to put the tiger down, and he took the chance to follow the tiger. He was ambushed while examining the remains of Devi, leaving Corbett to abandon the hunt and organize a beat with the villagers in the next day. 300 villagers were called in for a beat, spending most of the day hunting the tiger down until Corbett finally shot it dead. The tiger has been listed in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the highest number of fatalities from a tiger and any animal in history.